Hi, I'm Brent with surfcoaches.com. A surfboard design has changed dramatically over the last 100 years. It started off with the Hawaiian finless Elias, moving into the 50s and 60s to the big wooden longboard weighing 40 to 50 pounds, and coming into today where we have the thruster and the high-performance shortboards. It can be a bit confusing when we talk about different styles of surfboards, so I'm going to walk you through some of the basics. Now, we're not going to be able to touch on everything. Biscuits, sponsors, fishes, hybrids. There's so many different ones and they're all blended. But I'm going to again talk you through some of the basic surfboard designs. Starting with here in the middle, we have what's called a longboard. Most people are familiar with longboards. They hear longboard and shortboard. That's all they know about. This is your standard longboard. Longboard typically is between 9 to 12 feet in length. All right, they're wider. They're much thicker than most boards. All right, they usually come with one center fin, although sometimes it's common to have two side fins. The tail design is typically a flat tail or a rounded tail. These boards are great for beginners, but they can also be ridden by advanced surfers. It's just a different style of surfing. As we move on down the line, you see this board. It looks very similar to a longboard design. This would be considered what's called a fun shape or a Malibu design. These boards are great as well. They're great for beginners who are just starting off, but they're maybe a little lighter. They're also great for intermediate surfers who want a little more control. Again, it's very similar in design to the longboard. Rounded nose, wide, thick, square tail. This one has what you call a 2+1 fin setup, where it's got a large center fin, much like the longboard, but it's got some two side fins, or side bites as they're called, to kind of give you a little extra stability and control. So now we're gonna start moving into some of the smaller boards. Over here, we have a board that's what's referred to as a fish. Now, there's all kinds of different fishes, but they all have the same similar design template. A fish is usually a shorter board. This one in particular is a 5'10", but it can be as short as 5.5 to 6 feet long. Again, they're wider surfboards. They're thicker surfboards. A main design of most fishes is gonna be the tail here. You have this pulled in tail. Tails, what they do is they channel water in different areas in different ways. All right, so this one serves a purpose, and we could talk about that in later videos. Most fishes are gonna have two fin setups with two big fins, also called a twin fin, or in this case, a quad fin setup. Also, another good thing to note about fishes, typically very low in rocker. All right, they're made to ride smaller, mushier waves. They're great for point breaks, for long, walled up waves, where we want to generate a lot of speed. Next to it here, we have a surfboard. It's referred to as a gun. And this example is actually more of a mini gun. Now you see this board is very narrow, it's very thin. It's got a pointy nose and a very pointy tail. The purpose of these boards are for riding big, hollow waves, where we don't necessarily want to change direction a lot. We want a board that's going to channel water flow, that's going to go in one direction and go really fast, really, really good. These boards are typical big waves in Hawaii when you see the guys surfing at the Ponzi pipeline, or big hollow tube waves. That's what these boards are great for. And lastly, we move in what's called your standard high-performance shortboard. These shortboards are typically ridden by advanced surfers. This one in particular would be mine, so it's made for a person of my size. But they generally follow the same kind of template. Okay, they're not as wide as these other boards. They're much thinner. They typically have more rocker than a longboard or a fish. Most of them come with a 3-fin setup, although occasionally a 4-fin setup will be seen in a standard shortboard. And they come in a wide variety of tail designs, but typically this one, known as a squash tail, is a squared off tail. You might have a little roundness in the tail, or maybe a small cut in like a fish to channel water differently. But typically all have the same kind of design here. So like I said, each board has a different style of riding. Some boards work well for some people, some boards work well for others. If you'd like to know more about what kind of board you should be riding based on the conditions or your skill level, your abilities, how much you surf, be sure to check out some of the other videos on the website where we go into more detail about equipment selection.